Alright, so my little cousin, you know, I'm I'm like a big brother to him in a way, a role model. His dad walked out on him when he was a little kid, and he hasn't really had anyone else to look up to, like a father figure. Male role model. So I hang out with him a lot. I try to teach him the ways, but I remember when he was a little kid, he was like wondering why daddy left, and I was just like, what? It's not anything you can control. It was him. He had problems. So, my little cousin, struggling. He's sad, depressed, and I tell him, I was like, you know what? You're about to start school. Do good in school. Do good in school. Get up, graduate, get money, get a good job. You know what? You can live the life. I tell him that whole speech that your parents tell you when you're a little kid. Anyway, I told him that when he was about 4 or 5 years old now, and now he's up he's in eighth grade. He's in eighth grade now, and he's about to go up to high school. Where it really starts to count. But I noticed that he's not the most popular type. I think he took my advice a little too much. Like he's kind of like a nerd. I mean, I don't want to say he's a nerd. He's my cousin, but he does all his work. He doesn't really socialize much with friends and all that. He studies all the time. He just does what he's supposed to do, but he doesn't really have as like much fun. He gets picked on for it. I've seen him a couple times come home a little scuffed up. Little bloody nose. Stuff like that. I mean, I can't do anything. I'm over the age. I'll get in trouble. Anyway, we're at a family party, and it's like it's Christmas time. We're at a family party, and my aunt, who is just like she's a trip. You tell back in the hippie days she was a hippie. She blazed that shit up, shrooms. I don't know what, but you could tell she did stuff like that. Anyway, she brought over some bike, a friend. I don't know if it was her boyfriend, but she brought a friend over, and he was also a trip, man. He was a straight biker, like hardcore. Like he had a Harley, he had that big ass black jacket on, and it's just like, damn, dude. He had the handlebar mustache. It's just like, yeah, that's the dude you don't want to fuck with. He had the wrinkly face, wind beaten face, and all that shit. So I was like, all right, this guy. Anyway, my grandpa, he cares about the family. He's a good family man. He sits down next to the biker guy, because that's like the only seat that was left in the house or whatever at the time. So he sat down, and I'm in the kitchen helping my dad cook something up, get some food for myself, and I see my little cousin walking toward that direction. So I look at him, and I hear Grandpa go, so son, how are your grades doing? How you doing in school? And my cousin, nerd, gets good grades. He's like, yeah, I've been getting straight A's, doing real good. And he's all right. You know what? That's good. He's all, make sure you stay in school and make sure you keep getting good grades like that. All right, man. Remember, my grandpa's sitting right next to the big ass biker dude. So anyway, he goes, yeah, make sure you get good grades in school, or you'll end up being like this guy. And he points over, and I'm like, he did not just fucking do that. And I look at my little cousin, and my little cousin, like, he's thinking the same thing I am. He's like, oh shit, it's about to fucking go down. And so, my cousin's like, he's like, oh yeah, thanks. He gets the fuck out of there. He kind of goes around the corner, because he knows something's about to happen. So, I'm still kind of looking in that direction. I see my little cousin peeking around the corner, kind of like, what's going on? And all of a sudden, I see Grandpa on his back getting his ass beat by this big ass biker dude, and I'm like, oh shit. So I have to go fucking help Grandpa. So I go over there, I break it up, and I'm like, oh fuck, man. And once everything gets settled down, I look at my little cousin, and in his eyes, he's like, I just knew what he was thinking. He was like, oh shit. If I'm like him, I could beat ass. I'll never get beat up again. I was like, oh, here we go. I was like, this shit's gonna start. My cousin's gonna fucking start acting stupid. So it's a couple days go by. I don't really see him. I kind of go to his house, and his mom pulls me to the side. She goes, hey Michael, she's like, your little cousin, his teacher's been calling. The teacher's been calling saying, he hasn't been doing his work. He hasn't really been listening, talking in class, not really doing anything. Like, he's just not being a good student. And I'm like, that's not him.
I was like, that's not him at all. And then I was like, you know what? I bet you this has to do with what happened the other day. So I go talk to him. I said, hey, what's going on? I heard your teacher, your mom was telling me that your teacher, saying you're not doing what you usually doing in school. Why not? I mean, I already knew the answer, but I try to hear his side of it. He was like, I'm tired of getting beat up. I'm tired of, being called a nerd and all that. Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, I was like, so you want to drop out of school and become a biker dude just because you think you can beat ass and not get picked on? He said, yeah. And I said, all right. First of all, that's one person. That's one biker guy who didn't finish school. That's one out of all the ones in the world. I was like, not all biker guys drop out of school. And he goes, yeah, I guess you have a point. I'm all, yeah, exactly. And so, I was trying to, like I said, I was trying to make my cousin, a little bit more popular. I took him to the mall to get some stuff, get some clothing. And go to the mall, we go to a couple stores, and in the mall, he sees a biker dude, and he walks straight up to him. And I'm like, oh shit, what's gonna happen? He goes, hey, did you drop out of school? And I was like, you can't be asking people that. I was like, you can't just go out asking people if they dropped out of school. I was like, that's their personal stuff. And the bad thing was, he said yes. And I was like, God damn it. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, you couldn't fucking just say, yeah, you finished school? I was like, yeah, I tell the kid that you didn't finish school. I was like, so he comes up to me and he goes, I thought you said not all biker guys got out of school. And I was like, okay, that's 2. I was like, okay, I was like, 2, that's nothing compared to all of them. And he goes, all right, how about this? You take me to a place where there's a lot of biker people. All right, I'll ask them. If the majority of them dropped out, then I prove a point to you. But if they don't, then you know what? I'll go back to doing my work. I'll go back to being a good student and being what I am. I was like, all right, you know what? That's good, cool. I was like, not all biker people drop out of school. I was like, that's ridiculous. So anyway, I go take them to, I take them to a bar. They didn't let him in. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm just trying to prove a point to the kid, and they're like, no, you can't let him in. I was like, all right, whatever. So, I look outside, I go back outside, all the motorcycles lined up, and I noticed there's like a little thing on the ground on paper said Motorcycle Expo next week. And I was like, cool, all right, cool. There's gonna be a bunch of them there. You can go ask me little questions. And I was like, I gotta prove my point, get him back to who he is. So anyway, I pick him up a week later. We're driving on the way to the expo. My cousin, like I said, he's in 8th grade. Girls starting to develop. He's starting to get that attraction to him. Like all of us guys did. When we get that age, we start noticing girls developing, the booty and all that. We're like, cool, man. But anyway, so my little cousin's starting to get to that point. So we're driving. Girl walking down the street. He's like trying to secretly look over there, but I see him looking. So I'm like, dude, you're not fooling anybody. I was like, I see you looking. He's just like, yeah, he's embarrassed or whatever. So anyway. We get to the expo. There's at least like 300 of them fucking biker dudes there. I was like, all right, this is cool. You can go ask. He comes back a half an hour later with a little pen and paper with little tallies on it. He goes, 250 out of the 300 dropped out of high school. I was like, God damn it! I was like, this is some bullshit. I was like, this motherfucker's gonna... So I was just like, oh my God. Alright. I was like, this is bad. So anyway, we go back to the house. I drop him off and I'm just like, shit. I was like, this isn't going to be good. So, I do my thing for about, 3 days, 4 days. I finally go back there and check on him and, oh my God, he's wearing the big ass jacket. He's wearing the boots, and I'm like, this fool thinks he's a biker. His mom told me again, she's like, he's gotten worse. Right now he has a C in his class, and that's the worst he's ever done. He said he had an A+, he has a C now, and he's dropping down. I was like, yeah, this is bad. Like, this isn't him. I was like, that whole experience changed him. And so, I go to talk to him again, and he's sitting there. I was like, I gotta figure something out, try to get this kid back right. So I sit down and I tell him, so you're really gonna do this? And he said, yeah. He said,
people haven't said shit to me lately. They haven't picked on me. He's all, I actually like this. And he's all, one kid actually started trying to fight with me, and I kicked his ass. He said I stomped him with my boots. I was like, okay, that had nothing to do with you being a biker. That has to do with you wearing them big ass boots you got on. He was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, all right. And I go, remember that girl that we saw the other day? I saw you checking around. He's all, yeah, she was hella fine. I was like, yeah, I know. I was like, do you remember who that biker guy came with to that party back, a couple weeks ago? And he was like, yeah, he came with Auntie. And I was like, Auntie, Auntie? He's all, yeah, that's who he came with, Auntie. I was like, do you want to end up with a lady like Auntie? And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, when we went to that expo, all those biker guys, did you see who they were with? Like the girls they were with. And he was like, yeah, I guess. I was like, what did they have missing? He was like, teeth. And I was like, what did they have on their eye? He's all, black circles. And I was like, what was up with their hair? He was like, it was all nasty and they were missing chunks of it. And I was like, exactly. I was like, so do you want to end up with a girl like Auntie and all those girls you saw at the show, or that girl you saw walking down the street to the show? And he sat there and he was like, oh shit, I don't want that happening. And I was like, yeah, just think about that. So, I leave. I check in, I'm on 2 days later. He's back in his fucking little doctor clothes, his little shirt with the protector shit, and I'm like, here we go. I was like, cousin saved him. That's just the type of person I am. I gotta look out for the family. But that whole experience changed. So if you ever, have a kid getting picked on, make sure he doesn't see one of his family members get his ass beat, cause that shit will change. That shit will change you. But that's it. Hope you like my story, and yeah, I'm out.